Hello, and welcome to the Kaidan Kai, where we read a story about the supernatural every week. I'm your host, Linda Gould, and I'm happy to present today's story, War, by Jonathan Vidgop. Occasionally, a story comes your way that just stops you in your tracks, and this is one of those stories. It's short, very simple, straightforward, and the supernatural connection is tenuous at best, but I'll talk more about that in the outro. But I just couldn't stop reading it. And to be honest, it seems to be a story that just needs to be told. A story that, under the right, or really wrong conditions, any one of us could relate to. War was written in Russian by Jonathan Vidgop and translated into English by Leo Shtutin. Jonathan Vidgop was expelled from a Saint-Petersburg university in 1974 for behavior unworthy of a Soviet student. He then worked as a sailor, was drafted into the army and sent to the Arctic Circle. He now lives in Israel and is a theater director and published author. You can see his full bio in the episode description. Just a reminder that the Kaidan Kai is open for submissions to the Haunted Horror Contest. Cash prizes will be awarded to the 4 best short stories. Visit the submit page on the website for details. And now, here is War by Jonathan Vidgop. Enjoy. My room is very small. I can traverse it in 5 steps, turn right or left, depending on what wall I'm walking along, and take 3 further steps. My room thus resembles a Christian coffin or an antique pencil box with a fitted wooden lid. But my door is reinforced with iron, and floating fish-like in the little porthole cut into its center is the great eye of some unknown warden. A repulsive, oily color covers the walls, a color to which the gray fur of my little friends stands in most agreeable contrast. There are 5 of them, my interlocutors. The trouble is that we're all of us intelligible only to ourselves. Their shrill, scarcely audible squeaking is incomprehensible to me. I cannot so much as discern modulations in it, and my speech for them is but a dull drone. My gray friends began putting in appearances recently, when I realized that my stay here has no time limit. In the middle of the night, I awoke on the cement floor, swaddled in my loose mackintosh, and saw a pair of little sparks ablaze in the half-dark. A pair. Another. Yet another. Still yet another. 5 pairs of eyes, regarding me intently. Abrim with all manner of prejudice, I leapt to my feet in a trice and pressed myself against the wall. The rats shrank back too, then froze stock still. Our natural state is war, though why this became the case is beyond anyone's ken. Recalling legends that tell of rat-devoured babies, I aimed a blow with my foot, but the creatures did not stir. It was only later that they repaired to a corner, unhurried, quiet, self-assured, and vanished into it, one after the other. I waited a long time that night for the reappearance of tiny blazing eyes, but they did not show themselves, nor did they do so the following night. They materialized only when I stopped waiting for them. Lining up hurriedly along the wall, they fixed their gazes on me once again. We passed 2 hours or so in silent face-off. Then the neat little rat column vanished into the corner. Why are people afraid of rats? Why are rats afraid of people? In rats' eyes, no doubt, people are repulsive and hideous, grotesque, 2-legged creatures who've sworn to eradicate them. Why are we enemies? The rats have done nothing to me that would cause me to kill them. They've started to come every night. I know everything about them. They're old as the world. They almost triumphed in a great battle under the banner of the plague. They were forced back into the cellars. They survived. They multiplied. And now they're biding their time. Memories of how they advanced down cobbled town streets in living gray masses, filling those streets to the very brim, disturbed them. The burden of heady victory, frenzied feasting, and erstwhile greatness has been handed down to them by their forefathers. But new generations have risen in the interim. Should they join battle? They materialize before me, 5 warriors. I'm more cowardly than they. They're confident and calm. I'm short on sleep and short on patience. Panicked now, I lunge at them, aiming clumsy kicks in their direction. They're more agile than I am and dodge my feeble attacks without any trouble. And now they're behind me, stock still once again, save for their long, whip-like, madly writhing tails. All 5 eye me with a dispassionate gaze. Strength sapped, I sink to the cement. Their nerves are stronger than mine. Well, let them attack. I cover my face with my hand, only for them to withdraw with a haughty swish of their whips. I've heard it said that rats are unusually intelligent. Indeed, they are. They could have attacked me, but they did not. They find me interesting. We scrutinize each other assiduously. I think they're wiser than I am. I try to corner them. The creatures grumble with displeasure. Were someone to attack me, I'd grumble too. Like them, I'm hungry all day long. Our diets differ, but we're on the same page. Perhaps the fact I have a god sets me apart from them? But who says they don't have a god themselves? I awake once more, sat in a semicircle. They're watching me intently. And now they rear onto their hind legs and stand unmoving, supported by those sturdy tails. Would boots and leather sword belts, complete with countless narrow straps, look good on them? No, they're just animals, soft and silky of fur. Quietly, lined up in their usual column, they vanish. Breaking off a hefty chunk of plaster from high up on the wall, I find their hole and drive in the chunk. Farewell, friends. I'm frightened to be in your presence. I hear a quiet rustle behind my back. They're sitting in their semicircle. They've tricked me, slipped imperceptibly out of their hole while I was breaking off the plaster, which I've driven into the hole with my boot, wedged it firmly in place, and trapped us all in this room. I share my meager victuals with them. I eat in great haste, swallowing down mouthfuls. Unlike me, and contrary to legend, none of them pounce on the food with a vengeance. Their white teeth work at it patiently. Perhaps I could tame them, just, of course, as they could me. I can tell them apart now. No doubt they all have names of their own, though I shall never know them. Could they be new wardens come to watch over me? Or chroniclers, perhaps? We don't discommode one another. I fear them no more. They've done me no evil this entire time. I think they're as harmless as I am. Sitting circle-wise, they converse amongst themselves. The squeak of their voices sounds like far-off, ill-tuned violins. I address them. They turn quizzically towards me. It's true, I've disrupted their conversation. What can I tell them? They know it all, without my saying a word. Beyond the bounds of my room, autumn has been and gone. The cold seeps through the walls, and my mackintosh can no longer shield me against it. The cement floor is worse than ice. It sucks the warmth out of my body. Every night finds the creatures lying beside me, their little bodies nestled into mine. Are they feeling the cold? Or are they doing this especially to keep me warm? As we lie unmoving in the dark, I feel the hot coursing of their blood, feel it pulsing warmth into my core. We lie there like 6 warriors on some unknown battlefield. Before long, it'll be difficult for me to imagine life without these quiet, severe creatures. I don't feel like I'm their leader. We're equals. How good it is when you're half a slumber. when it's deadly cold beyond the walls, to feel a warm, gray little body against your bare hand. How swift they're breathing as they press their whiskered muzzles to my shoulder. How deft and noiseless their movements as they scuttle up my neck. Their teeth are so sharp that their bites hurt me not at all. My only displeasure is the hot stickiness of my own blood. But they work at me with such diligence, I soon cease to feel its flow. I do not open my eyes. I'm sure they'll perform the deed well. They're no stranger to it. We are, after all, but warriors of opposing armies who have encountered and recognized one another. Whew. I think that story is every bit as terrifying as some of the ghost and supernatural stories that I read on the Kaidan Kai. And though the supernatural element is not so strong in this story, I believe it's there in the way that the character had to battle his own mind as he stays imprisoned. The conversations that he had and his descent into madness made me think of the kind of ghost stories that are psychological, where you're left to wonder if the events in the story were imagined or real. Next week's story, though, is a bit lighter in tone. One witch tests her power, and another learns of hers. Please consider donating to the Kaidan Kai. Donate $25 or more, and I'll dedicate an episode to you. Donate $50 or more, and you get a Kaidan Kai logo t-shirt. The donation links are in the podcast and episode descriptions. As always, please review the podcast, follow us on Twitter, Mastodon, and YouTube. All the information is in the podcast and episode descriptions. Thank you for listening today. See you next week.